Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ink and Echo podcast. It's me, Dave Mantle, or Mantel. Fuck it, I don't know. I just want to come on here and talk about my new album that just came out. There's some really great guest features on it. We got Michael Jordan, we have Bill Murray, we got Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig.
The cast of Space Jam seems like.
Yeah, so this is a tribute to Space Jam.
A movie that definitely holds up, right?
Yeah, no, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And so on this new album, I took all the songs from the soundtrack of Space Jam and slowed them way down.
Excellent.
And the album's called Not Ready for This. It's currently streaming on Spotify. Love if you check it out.
Wow. Well, that's been the Ink and Echo podcast.
Excellent.
Thanks, Dave, for being on. And now for our next guest, it's our friend Stefan Tomlinson.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So the first thing to address here would be
How hard Dave Mantel just got owned on our podcast.
Hell yeah.
No, more important than that, why the hell Stefan shaved his head and eyebrows for the cover of his album? Because
We're just jumping right into it.
I just imagine, I mean, it's a great gimmick, but then you have to live your regular life with no eyebrows for who knows how
And
long.
I had to see him in that state a few times.
Yeah.
where
And
it was
kinda-
growing back like a cancer patient after chemo.
So the fun thing about that is you don't have to deal with it. Everybody else does. You don't have to look at yourself if you don't want to, but
That's true.
Other people don't have the option to not look at you for the most part. So I didn't really notice. My eyebrows got a little itchy as they were growing back in.
So if it wasn't clear, so your new album, Weird World, which is hard to say for some reason, is out. It's actually out now as of the release of this.
Yeah. So just
But the front of it is a big close up of your completely shaved bald face.
Well, no, that's not right. That's not the album cover, Andy.
Oh, but that's like the promo image you've been using.
yeah. There's like a few promo images, but it's like close-ups of everybody that was on the album cover. So, and the idea with that album cover is I wanted everyone to have something that was like slightly off or different. So, at a glance, it just looks like a band photo. But if you look at it closer, everyone has something going on that's a little bit different. Well, and like
one of the dudes has like a bloody nose and a black eye or something.
yeah,
like that,
like
right?
it looks like he's beat up, and obviously I have my whole head shaved. But yeah,
Sounds like a weird world to me.
oh yeah.
But so what was the
Why?
where was that idea? Yeah, why?
What the hell, dude?
I don't know. So let me back up a little bit. So
Back it up for us.
Yeah, so Archibald, the first album we released, I came up with this idea to do a whole kind of theme with the artwork for the album, and my wife did all the artwork, and she did a really great job. But I came up with that idea when I was making milkshakes when I worked at Flying Star, and I have no idea like where it came from. I was just like, oh, I got like excited about it, and I kept feeding into it, and I got more and more excited about it, and I figured something's a good idea when you get excited about it, and other people can get excited about it, and that's how you know you should pursue it. And so with Weird World, I was again at work. I was making waffle cones, and I was like, I think I know what I want to do. I want to do like an all black and white photo, and then I just kind of narrowed it down from there. But I had an idea that I wanted it to be like look like a full band, and I wanted it to
So
be
the
like
theme
really
here
stark,
is
but-
you have your best ideas while you're working on ice cream creations.
Yeah, I think so. And that's the business I'm in now. So I think I'm set for life.
The business of ice cream.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wait, so in your head, you're like, this would look cool, but was there any like, here's what it means, or does it mean anything?
No.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I probably operate more under the mindset that you do, Andy. Like, I'd rather make something and that's intriguing than people can...
Those arbitrary decisions.
Yes.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, and then people can interject meaning or inject meaning
Whatever they want.
into it. Yeah. But at the very least, like, it should be kind of thought-provoking or entertaining, hopefully.
Or baffling. Like, what is wrong with these people in this photo?
Yeah. And that's that's kind of the hope. And then like for other things, like when I write lyrics, for the most part, they have meaning and there's like a purpose behind them. But again,
you're not just doing like a corn scat type thing in the middle of your song.
Yeah. I mean, there are some lyrics on this album that are
meaningless.
Yeah. When I wrote them, like there's one song, the entire song is like a stream of consciousness where I didn't censor anything. And I just wrote all the words and like let them rhyme and then left it at that. Yeah. And then there's other songs where I like really actually, there's a lot of meaning behind it and they mean something to me. So,
yeah. How much of this, well, I mean, when people go listen to it, they'll see that it is so, I mean, in a weird way, balanced between complete silliness and super honest vulnerability. And I mean, knowing
which
you,
is Stefan. That's
right.
Stefan.
Yeah. Like this album is very you, in all the best ways. And I mean, knowing you, I kind of automatically assume that most of it is you talking about yourself and not about a character or about another person. But is that accurate? Like the personal stuff and the serious stuff, is that pretty much all about you?
For the most part, there's really not, like, I try not to hold people's hands when I write something. Like, there's really not any indicators that's like, hey, this is about me or about this specific person. Like, so one of the songs, it's the third track, it's called Time As It Was. And that song is just about, like, that song's not about me at all. It's just about what I think it would feel like if I were to go to a prom in the 80s. Like that's the idea behind that. But then like the last song, Alive, is like pretty personal. Or like even Stemson Shuffle, which is like there's like a dance part at the end. The first half of that song like is written primarily about me and my wife Jackie's experience over the last year. So and I don't know, it doesn't really make sense to switch into a dance at the end, but it just felt right, so I did it.
Sure.
And then also the song that you sang on, Josh, Throwaway Kid, that one is definitely like more personal or more of just like dealing with anxiety and guilt, basically.
Yeah.
So, but then as far as narrative goes too, there's Cherry Pit Part 2 in it.
Yeah.
And that's completely fictional, and that's written from the perspective of like 3 different people in one song. So it switches perspective as the song goes on, and it's totally just like a fairy tale story.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
with the Stemson Shuffle and like, so the end of the song, there's like directions on how to dance.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder if Stefan's trying to get into like write a popular wedding song and just get like mad royalties. Like, you know, Beyonce's Single Ladies song. I always wonder if it was in the back of someone's mind, like this is going to be the garter song, you know, or whatever at the wedding. Like, then you're going to make killer money. So
yeah. Yeah,
you're going to be the next Cotton Eye Joe or whatever.
They just have to sit through the first half of the song awkwardly, and then it's like, oh, here's the dance part.
Yes. Or so it'd be maybe more like Freebird. That everyone will just be waiting around for the solo.
Yeah.
Like who gives a shit what the first half is?
Right. Well, it's I don't know. Again, it's so you because you are someone who can have super deep, serious conversation and then immediately make like a fart joke or just, you know, and even the musical structure of the songs, I don't know where the hell they come from because they're so kinetic and sporadic, and the time changes are, you know,
what does kinetic mean?
Yeah, I was about
to mean to say that?
Isn't that proper? I better look it up.
What were you trying to say?
Let's see. A work of art depending on movement for its effect. Yeah. Fuck you guys. That works. That was a proper vocab word.
I wasn't asking to be condescending.
Okay, I'm sorry. Fuck you,
We're all doing
Andy.
really well.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's disjointed and so crazy, but then
and kinetic,
after a couple listens, you fucker, you get used to it, which I love, you know. But there's lots of starts and stops, and and
crazy tempo changes. What's the song with the crazy tempo change? I love that.
There's a couple that there's actually 3 songs that have tempo changes.
Okay.
But the crazy one you're probably talking about is Chocolate Milky Way, where it just slows down, like it like melts and then just snaps back up.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I love you, but I hate the lyric, "It must be the milk fat that makes me feel this way," because whenever I listen to that, it just makes me feel gross.
So that
I
Chocolate
even like
Milky
the
Way
song, but go ahead. Yeah.
Chocolate Milky Way is the one that's a stream of consciousness that I didn't censor. I just wrote whatever.
You were
I
having
wanted.
diarrhea on the toilet and
Yeah,
thought a song called Chocolate Milky Way. Sorry, go ahead.
No, there was no meaning behind that, but I'm sorry it made you feel that way,
well,
Josh.
Sorry, it made you
it's just
uncomfortable,
certain
Josh. Jeez.
certain textures or things described through lyric just make me feel gross, and that's one of them.
So don't say milk fat ever again.
Okay.
I was going to also say, I mean, because Stefan, you and I were in a band years ago, as we've covered before on this show, but at that time, if I remember right, you had, I mean, honestly, no singing voice, pretty much. Like you couldn't really keep
terrible,
on
dude.
key.
It was
but
so
now,
bad.
I mean, you honestly have come such a long way, both as, a rapper and in your singing voice. So well done on that. I mean, I
Thanks.
noticed you've gotten a lot better. And you're
Kudos.
Like, you've got some good rhymes in there, legitimately.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Have you, I mean, was that, have you had to practice a lot at that? Or do you think it was just because you were young, you didn't know how to use your voice in Thaddeus days?
I don't know. Like, I used to be really self-conscious about singing. I think most people are. Like, because it's, like when you play an instrument, you can kind of disconnect from it and be like, oh, I'm hitting this chord wrong, but it's because I don't know how to do it. Whereas with singing, like there's some people that are naturally good at it. Like very rarely can you pick up a guitar and just play without any instruction. Like that doesn't really happen, but people can sing naturally. So I think I was really self-conscious about the way I sounded. I think I was pretty aware of pitch, but I didn't know how to get there. But I think the thing that kind of snapped me out of it is I started treating my voice like an instrument, where I'm like, okay, I can learn how to like find out where these notes are by moving my voice up and down until it like clicks. In the same way on a guitar, like if you're trying to learn a part, you're just noodling around. You're like, there's that note. I got to find that note again. You know,
I got a 1 in 12 chance here.
Yeah.
I'm going to find that note.
So I just started doing that with my voice. And I mean, I kind of learned how to sing that way. I'm still like pretty self-conscious. Like I don't walk around the house like singing.
I was going to say, do you just sing while you're making waffle cones? And everyone's like, dude, shut up.
No, like I have like a couple of different coworkers that sing regularly.
Really?
And they got like decent voices, but it's like,
Is that annoying?
It's not the worst. But
It's also not the best.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, but I wouldn't walk around singing. Like I'm still self-conscious, but all that to say, like, thanks. I'm glad you think my voice works in this.
Yeah. So you had talked about previously how this album took you about 2 years, at least from the start of the first track until now. Did it feel pieced together in the sense that each song was kind of a standalone, or did it grow in cohesion? And you started writing things intentionally to fit the whole?
Well, that song you mentioned, Time As It Was, is really old. Like it's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
The single version.
Yeah.
So you've got old and newish things in there.
Yeah. Overall, I wrote a good chunk of it probably within a year.
Okay.
I tried to make the album sound more cohesive altogether. Because the last album I put out was all over the place, but it's just because I did whatever I could and then put it all together into an album. But this, with Weird World, the intention was to make it more cohesive. So a majority of it was written like within like 6 months to a year. And then I went back through and finished up a lot of things. And I wrote a few more songs, like short ones, and then added 2 other songs as I was getting closer to finishing up the album. But yeah, overall, I think I worked on it for about 2.5 years, but it wasn't like every single day just nitpicking. It was like I would do it for like a week, and then it would be 2 months. I'd do it for another week, and I got to the point where I was like, I just need to finish this, because I started having ideas to write new music and do the next thing, and I was like, I got to finish the thing I'm on first.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was motivation to just knock it out. And I think I have a much stronger game plan for the next album to actually knock it out within a few month period and then go on.
So you'd be a 60-day guy is what you're saying?
Yeah, 60-day guy instead of a 30-day guy.
No, but okay. Here's what we really need to talk about. Because you were on our show, whenever that was last year, and we gave you a deadline that was like, what was it, January or February or something?
Yeah.
And here we are, June, and the album is coming out. So, okay. So, one, did you think that did you want to finish it by June or February? And, I mean, regardless of that answer, like, why did it take so long? And what did you learn from the process?
So I can't remember the exact time frame, but yes, I wanted to release it like January or February.
Yeah.
So my wife and I bought a house like a year and a half ago now. And we just had one thing after the other where it's like, hey, we have termites. And so that was like a month of stuff to get that done. And it's like, hey, our pipes aren't working, so we like can't use the toilet or anything. So that was like another like chunk. And then the thing that happened over the winter is like our roof started leaking like crazy. Like it was like pouring in. So when it would rain or snow, like all in one room was just like dumping in. And it was like shorting electric circuits. And like, so anyway, there's all these big projects, and like I could have finished it, but it just didn't happen. But I got to the point where I was like, well, if I don't just sit down and do it, it's not gonna happen. So I sat down and did it. And like,
Did it get painful?
Yeah.
It
was like more. Well, so I had to lie to myself over and over, where it's like, hey, I'm just gonna sit down and work for 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna walk away, and then like I'm going to fill up those 30 minutes with work, and I would work for 3 hours. And I just kept doing that over and over again, where I just like lie to myself and be like, hey, you could do 20 minutes and go back and like watch TV or lay around or whatever I was doing.
So that it was like hey, I maybe you didn't necessarily feel the motivation, but you're just like, hey, just 30 minutes, then I'll go back to whatever I was doing. But, so that's like a good lie.
Yes.
Okay. Because I was thinking, I was like, I'm only going to do 30 minutes so that I don't hate myself.
Yeah.
And then, okay. So that's a positive lie.
Yeah.
Then
and
that's great.
And I liked doing it. Like when I sat down, like it's work I enjoy doing.
Right.
And I can't remember the guy's name you had on the podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Bill?
Yes, Bill.
Yeah.
What he said about like working 15 minutes a day, I was like, that's basically what I was doing. I was telling myself I was going to work for 15 minutes a day.
But then you kept going.
Yeah.
And then I kept going. And
well, that's interesting, because the thought that you're only going to work 15 to 30 minutes is what made you get started. Mm-hmm. And then you were able to keep going. That makes a lot of sense to me. And that's something I could, because I am very much like, I've got to have like a 3 or 4 hour time carved out to be like, well, I can't work on that today. I only have like 2 hours.
Yes.
And it's like, that's stupid though. Like I could, if every day I worked for an hour or 30 minutes, like you said, like by the end of a month, you'd have some way more than if you purely wait for 4 hour time slots to do things.
Definitely. Yeah. And I operate in the same mindset of like, I need like 2 to 5 hours to do this. And also be like, I'm going to get tired or hungry. I don't know. I would just like talk myself out of it. But it's like, this is what I want to do. And this is what I feel like the music I make has value, at the very least to me. Mm-hmm. And that's worth doing. But I don't know what it was to like get my butt to sit down in the chair and just do it. And well, like I said, once I did it and it was done, like it felt so good. And I was like, I want to keep doing this, but I need to be a little more disciplined. So.
Right. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. And so you've been playing some shows lately, and you will be at AudioFeed as well.
Yeah.
Are you doing any more of that showy shows, or just here and there?
As for right now, in like here in Albuquerque, I don't like have anything lined up. Normally like shows have just come to me, but once we get back from AudioFeed, I'd really like to look into playing more shows. And like what I'd really like to do is try to go out and tour with Stemson and like open for somebody that might jive well with the music and get exposure that way as well. And I also want to try to do music videos this summer, but shows for the most part here, like since I don't have a fan base and it doesn't seem to really be clicking as of yet, like shows here like seem like a lot of time to put in for something that might not have a lot of return.
Right.
I might try to invest more time in doing like music videos and like I think tour might make sense. I don't know. We'll see as we get there, but yeah, I'm really excited for AudioFeed. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's this week for people hearing this. So
right, yeah, June 30th through July 2nd.
And you're playing the second day, day.
I'm playing the first day.
Okay.
So if you're going to AudioFeed, it'll be like 1:15 at the Radon Lounge stage. We'll be playing, and Jacob Fox and Randy Bowen from Archibald will be playing with.
Yes.
Or like as Stemson. So
and Josh and I will be there to watch it.
Yeah.
Sure will.
It'll be great.
Yes.
Well, so the day this comes out, June 26th, Weird World is out. So listeners, Stefan, where can they find it at the place where you will get the most money if they buy it?
Bandcamp will give me the most money, but you can stream it and do whatever. Like,
you have some merch and
everywhere.
Stuff too, like t-shirts. Are those on Bandcamp?
Yes.
Okay.
Which it's just stemson.bandcamp.com.
And if you go to stemson.net or like if you just type in Stemson just about anywhere, you should.
I love that you got such a small word for your band name that's still unique. Like it's 6 letters, but it's still uniquely Googleable, which is kind of rare.
Yeah.
Like I feel bad for bands like Bush. You know, like they made their name before Googling mattered for anything. It's like you can't just Google Bush and find the band.
Yeah.
So good on you.
Thanks.
Well, let's hey fellas, let's hear a track from the new Stemson record, Weird World. And my suggestion is going to be we play Squid Kid because that's one of my faves.
You ready?
That's the live version.
Oh, you want to hear the real one?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
For my squid kid, needed to live large, need to be the one in charge, enough to be smart enough to get free stuff. But I'm nothing more than an idiot, living in my own head, living in my own head. I'm nothing more than an idiot. Pay what you want, take what you need, breathe freely, speak easy, fill needs, please don't let this stop you. These streets are bound to bend and rock you. These streets are bound to bend and rock you. I am not fine. You are not fine. We are not fine. We are fine. At least we have the mind to say that we're not fine today. I hope we can find some peace. Oh.
boy, that sounded great.
Thanks.
Gee whiz, who mastered that shit?
Oh man, mastering sounded incredible there.
Yeah, it was really good.
Wait,
No,
is that the song
production
I
is.
played guitar on?
No.
No. Okay.
You didn't. There's no guitar on that one. That's all right.
I was listening to the album the other day in the car with Olive, and Time As It Was came on, and she goes, "Oh, Daddy, that's a fun song." She apparently the synthesizer sounds really good to her little 3-year-old ears. So
That's good.
you've got the toddler demographic down.
Yeah, I played at a brewery a couple weeks ago, and there was some kids there, and they loved it. And I was like, I might be trying to go for the wrong demographic here.
You should be playing at libraries on like a Tuesday
I
afternoon.
think it's pronounced libraries.
Yeah, after they read some Arthur, then you can
Clifford the Big Red Dog, and now it's time for Stemson.
man, if you just integrate Daniel Tiger and popular kids
Yes.
literature references into your songs, then
I think I
Boom.
could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I could see myself like in my older years starting to write children's music. It wouldn't bug me.
It wouldn't, but like you would be happy with that. That
Yeah.
sounds so terrible to me.
Well, have you ever? What is the name of that show with the dude with the orange fuzzy hat and all the big
Orange fuzz.
dancing?
Yo Gabba
creatures?
Gabba.
Yeah, Yo Gabba Gabba. The music in that show is really good. Go watch some clips of it.
They
Okay.
had
good.
some
It's-
pretty high profile guests too, performing artists. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's- one of the guys from Aquabats is the one that started Yo Gabba Gabba. So anyway, I could see myself doing something like that
Okay.
once I'm no longer relevant.
Great.
First, I got to become relevant, and then become unrelevant, and then start a children's show.
Yes.
And then people
Great.
will talk about me on a podcast, and nobody will really care.
Hey, I was thinking about something the other day that I think you guys will resonate with. And I don't know what made me think of this specifically, but I love traveling on a work day when I'm not working. I know that sounds obscure, but just that
When you say travel, like you're going on a plane and you got a road
Yeah.
trip, like
Yeah, yeah.
travel.
like, let's say it's a Friday and I've taken the day off, and which I mean, actually will be happening this week. Like, I just love the idea of being in a train or on a plane and sort of passing by all these people who are at work, and normally I
like,
would be at work
"Sucker!"
too.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's something, I mean, kinda that, but I don't know. It just makes me feel real good and extra relaxed and happy.
I don't know about you guys, but in those situations, so like if I'm on a plane or I have a long drive or something, I end up like I'll listen to an album the full way through or something in a way that I wouldn't ever have time for. Or even if
Yeah.
I'm, it takes me 30 minutes to drive into town and I could listen to almost a full album, like I generally don't. But I feel really good when I'm on a plane. I'm like, I'm just going to listen to this old Deftones album like all the way through. And it's just, I feel really great. And I can actually listen to a podcast like all the way through in one sitting or something. I
Yeah.
love that so much.
Right. Yeah, it gives you an excuse to, like, you're limited in what you can do, and you can't
Right.
go anywhere, so you might as well absorb something a little
Right. Because I will
longer.
never carve out time to listen to a full 50 to an hour
Yeah.
minutes of an album,
Sure.
normal life. So it feels good.
Stefan, any thoughts?
Yeah. No, I mean,
Excellent.
as far as like carving out time to listen to an album, like I've tried to do that more and more. Like if somebody, like especially somebody, if I know if they release an album, like joking aside, I listened to Dave Mantell's album front to back and like actually listened to it, and it was really nice, like to absorb it. But if you put it on passively, like especially with more like drony music, like if you put it on
Right.
passively, it's really easy to just like
Yep.
forget about it. But I'm trying to remember the last time. I'm trying to think the last album I bought, and I actually got a CD, put it in a CD player, and sat down in front of the speakers and listened to
Yeah.
the whole thing. Was like 6 years ago.
So, yeah.
Um,
I remember when Sigur Ros's Valtari album came out. For whatever reason, I knew I was going to love it, even though I didn't really like any of their stuff before that. But I remember I was at my old house. I got the download the day the album came out. and I sat on my back porch and I didn't do anything. I just sat there with my headphones in and listened to the whole thing all the way through, and it was just the best. And I don't know if I've done that ever since.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the last time I did it too was Astronautilus.
Oh yeah.
This Is Our Science, which is a really good album, but I think I absorbed it even more by just giving it a shot.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
can I ask a question
Yep.
to you, Josh? And I don't know if this has been addressed at all, but how... Oh, is this...
I don't know. I just made a dumb face at Stefan.
What made you decide to drop The Doctor? Did you talk about this? From...
Bradley Hathaway grilled him on it at the beginning of last episode, which
okay.
you
Yeah.
haven't heard yet. But
Okay, my bad.
I mean,
we don't have to do that.
no, let's
I'll
do
just
it.
answer it briefly. I mean, I just felt like it was silly and I didn't resonate with that anymore. I felt like it was too jokey and I want to be a little more serious.
Okay.
And Josh Gaines is just a nice sounding name, as Andy has pointed out.
Yeah.
It gets
Yeah,
the job
so it's
done.
like it's
Gets the
almost
Josh done.
in a weird way, it's almost like the previous band name I had. Like, oh yeah, those were Dr. Gaines books or albums. Like, oh yeah, that's
Right.
Pedro the Lion material, but now I'm David Bazan. Like that's the simplest way to probably put it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's not me anymore. So I don't know. It's silly. It doesn't really matter. But it all came about because of working on Cordial Kill and not wanting the credit to be a film by Dr. Gaines. That just sounded dumb to me.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
there you
Did
have
you
it.
Did you ever want to call yourself anything other than like a band name? Did you ever just want to go by Stefan Tomlinson for your music?
No.
Why?
Too long, too many syllables.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well,
It's as
one,
bad as
Stefan,
a Tasselmeyer.
Stefan is kind of a unique name,
Uh-huh.
but it's also forgettable. But anyway, I also like the idea of not being the main focus behind
Right,
what I
they're
put out.
Being a buffer, kind of.
Like, and that does kind of feed into the album cover that I put out. Is I wanted it to look like a full band, but it's like I did 95% of the work on that album.
Right.
And
Well, and you even made yourself look like you. If someone just saw that picture of you and then saw you right now on my couch, they would be like, "Who is that guy? That doesn't look like the same."
that was the goal.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
cool.
So I don't really like having my name. I mean, I take that back. I don't mind it, but I don't want me to be the focus. Like
Yeah.
I want the thing that I put out to
Yeah.
be the focus.
Yeah.
And like I've read, so Ray Bradbury, for example, is like one of my favorite authors. And I read like his short stories a lot growing up. But then I wrote an excerpt at the end of one of his short story collections that he wrote about himself. And it kind of like tainted.
Oh, you got too close to the actual person.
Yeah. And I was just like, he thinks he's the shit. Like he thinks he's like amazing. And I thought he was amazing, but I was like,
But the fact that he thinks it.
yes, like it came off as very pretentious, and maybe
Interesting.
I was reading that into it. But I mean, I've read like Stephen King generally writes like forwards, or like he'll write like I just finished one of the Dark Tower books, and he wrote like a chunk in the back, but it doesn't come off as pretentious at all. It sounds like he's talking to me as a person, as if I'm in the room. But anyway, all that to say is like I don't want anyone to get to know me and just have it ruin whatever they thought it was,
Right.
And so to not have my name, because like if you go onto my Twitter, like I have tweets about dog farts, and it's like I thought this song had a lot of depth to it, but obviously you're a really stupid person or whatever. Like, so
Wait, Josh, I feel like the thing we're talking about in music is pretty standard. Like, I mean, that's how I feel too about Lowercase Noises. I want it to not be associated with a personality, but with something else. But authors they just don't seem to do that. And there's no real precedent that I could think of to be like, oh, this book was written by Sleep Death or something. It's like that sounds you can't have a band name for your books, which is kind of weird now that I'm thinking about it, because it seems like you'd want this to accomplish a similar thing and be like, I do want people to watch Cordial Kill or read one of your books, but not worry about the problems in Josh Gaines's head that they're aware of,
But don't people use like pen names, or what is that called?
Yeah, pen name. Or a
Stephen
pseudonym.
King did that for a while.
Richard Bachman, right?
Right.
Richard Bachman, yeah.
Not
I
Ehrlich.
mean-
That's a different Bachman.
The only
Ehrlich
thing I
is my
could say
favorite
to
Bachman.
that
Yeah.
is that I mean, in most cases, authors, well, if their writing is good, you'll forget that there is an author at all. You know,
Right.
you'll get engaged in the story, and occasionally, an author is trying to be too forward. You'll either get a sense that a character is speaking exactly in their voice, or like sharing an opinion that they themselves hold, and that can feel a little overdone. You know.
Right.
Or too obvious. But yeah, otherwise it is kind of weird. You know, it'd be interesting if an author has ever just called themselves something that's not even a name, but just a term or a phrase,
Right.
and put out books under that. I mean, pen names for sure exists. Occasionally people will put out books anonymously or under, you know, anyway.
And the only thing that came to my brain is like the Coen brothers. Like, it's like that kind of gets there a little bit. It's like there's like an entity versus a person. Like there's two people. I don't even know what their first two names are.
Is
Like
it
that.
Ethan and Joel.
Yeah, but I'm just like, if you say a film by the Coen brothers, that feels a little more of that
Yeah,
distance that
it's
we're
true.
talking about. I don't know. I just
Or the
coming to me
Daniels,
now, but it's-
the guys who did Swiss Army Man. Two guys
Oh.
named Daniel. They just
Oh yeah.
had themselves credited as the Daniels, which I like.
yeah. It's just interesting that the different mediums seem to have very different things for the names of the people creating it. Like, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's probably more stems from like a band is multiple people. So like, what do we call this? We're
Yeah.
not doing like Stefan Tomlinson and the Neon Boys or whatever. It's like,
It's a good.
it's like
Not
a
a bad
honky
name.
tonk band or something or whatever. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying. That's interesting though. Stefan's grabbing the gummy bears.
I found some gummy bears underneath the coffee table, and they have been here a long time.
Yeah, those actually belong to my brother-in-law, but
Yeah, you said that last time, but they haven't been touched. So
no.
The other thing along those lines is an artist can, you know, Banksy gave himself a weird name. Part of that
Yeah.
is because his true identity is concealed, but like an artist can do it, you know, they can call themselves, you know, the weirdest, like a single word.
Like Prince or the symbol artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Creative people are weird. And it's almost like you couldn't, you know, wouldn't it be sort of pathetic if Prince made his name a symbol or Banksy was Banksy, but they were not internationally known? Like they were just some guy from Bernalillo and had 15
then you-
followers, but they insisted on
You
calling
met him in a
himself.
coffee shop and they're like, yeah, dude, here's my symbol. Like, you
Yeah.
got to call me. Yeah. Yeah, that's
it's
true.
almost like you have to be, or that stupid singer Saya or whatever her name is. I don't know, like or Lady Gaga. There's this whole a persona surrounding them, but it's like that wouldn't work unless they were super
Yeah,
famous.
was Lady Gaga when she had 10 followers who were mostly her family or something?
That I do
that-
not know.
I mean, because I agree with you. That's weird.
Yeah,
But then again, it's like when I started making music, it wasn't like I said, "Hi, I'm Lowercase Noises." Like, I don't, it's weird
Right.
when it's like a personality is taking on a pseudonym. Because in my mind, the whole point is to distance yourself from the personality with a pseudonym. But you know, Prince is one person, but you got to call him Prince still
Yeah.
as the human being. Like that, I will never feel comfortable doing.
I mean, not
something like
anymore
that.
because he's dead.
He's-
but
Dead as you can get.
or a guy like, you know, another example of someone who I do like is Eminem. I mean,
Yes.
I'd assume most people in his personal life actually do still call him Eminem instead of Marshall.
You think so? Like,
I'll bet.
hey M. They call him M,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So that's interesting. But he has the other pseudonyms like Slim Shady, where it's like there's a different character, right?
Yeah.
Which I find that pretty fascinating.
here's
Yeah.
here's a question. That's a total
Mm-hmm.
shift of gears, but it goes back to creative people being weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about this from time to time. Do you think creative people tend to have either like some sort of like emotional or mental trauma from the past, or and also possibly that they might have a mental disorder. And I'm not saying a disorder in the sense that they're like incapable of living life and doing day to day, but just like they might be somewhat manic or depressed or I don't know.
I know you haven't heard it yet, but Bradley, I feel like, touched on that in a interesting way.
Okay.
I mean, we kept referencing that the demon inside that you have to like get out every time you want to do something creative. Like he kept calling it a demon, mainly because Faulkner called it a demon. But so he seemed to think that, yeah, there's this, being a creative comes with this intense, like, you know, ups and downs with pretty intense depression and then self-satisfaction and then kind of going back and forth. So I don't like the whole tortured artist thing, like where you have to be like a you live alone in the woods, sad man with a beard or whatever to really do good art. Because I don't believe that, but I do believe there are things that happen as a result of trying to be a creative person that are helpful and detrimental to your brain. I don't know. What do you think, Josh? Do you think that's what Bradley was saying?
Yeah, I think so. I think that basically explains it. I mean, the way you phrased that, Stefan, made me immediately think of the Enneagram, just because, I mean, more often than not, creatives are type 4s. And I mean, I don't know if, I guess it probably goes across the board. Like there are probably creative people, like Tom Waits comes to mind, who, if I'm not mistaken, is actually schizophrenic. That might just be a rumor or untrue, but clearly he's found a way to work around that and has an enormous, you know, cult following. But yeah, I think I tend to think, whether or not there was trauma in childhood or whether or not they deal with personal demons or whatever, just that creative people in general are paying more attention to life than necessarily a quote unquote regular person. And so it's kind of like, if you feel the compulsion to create, you're probably also recognizing heaviness in life and also joy, and just trying to make sense of it by churning something out that communicates that. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't like the tortured artist thing either, but I also kind of feel like one. It's like I am freaking crazy in my own head, and I hate that sometimes, but I also like the part of my brain that can make things up that don't exist.
Right.
So anyway,
wait, so a follow-up question to that would be: Do you actually think there are non-creative people in the world?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. So
you don't think everyone has a little compulsion, even if they just want to like do a crossword or draw a little doodle, or like, I don't know.
A crossword.
That was a bad example.
Well, yeah, but that's like a logic puzzle.
Sure.
But I honestly, like, if you were to put blocks in front of different groups of people, some people are going to just like stack them and be like, look, I made a pyramid or a tower. And then somebody's going to be like, I made an upside down pyramid, but I grabbed this like stick from over there to like put it on top, or like,
sure.
And like, so I think some people, it's like, it's not that they don't have the ability to make something, like give them a coloring book and
they just don't have the demon that we're talking about.
Well, they might not even have the compulsion though. Like, I mean,
well, that's kind of what I mean when I say that.
But yeah, I mean, I think there are people that are driven more by logic for problem solving versus creativity for problem solving. Like there's two different, sides to that. But yeah, I think there's people that like, maybe if you were to look at it like percentage, like we're operating, 70 to 90% creativity, whereas there's some people that are operating like 2 to 5% maybe. Like it's like it's maybe accessible,
sure,
but it's not a driving force in how you approach things. So I mean that's what I think, but I have nothing to back it up outside of my opinion.
Here's what that makes me think of, Andy, is just like, I know a few guys who are, for lack of a better term, just regular dudes, regular Joes almost, and their mind is blown that I could write and make a movie. Like they've said this in so many words of just like, man, how do you even think of a story? But they, on the flip side, are like super good mechanics or super good at handyman stuff around the house. And so it's like, that's not necessarily their creativity, but their brain, that makes sense to them. And they really like fixing or building things. And I tend to think that like everybody kind of has their own little, or, some guys just might love being salesmen. They might be really good at like, just selling Christian light bulbs. and even if quote unquote creativity doesn't occur to them, like that's where they get their kicks and giggles from, is just being good at their job,
Yeah.
So the compulsion thing, I for sure think there are some who would, for the most part, it just doesn't exist in them, or they're driven to other things that are not creative.
Within this conversation, I don't like the thought of, and not that we're doing this, but like, oh, us creatives are doing something more for the world or whatever, because that's not true. But I'm also, I think, realizing more and more that like there is a big difference between me and the people who were able to stay at my old job and just be happy in their cubicle and blah blah blah. Like, but there's nothing.
It's not like you've reached like a higher plane or like the next level. It's like you were just different from them. It's not a. And I have an aversion to the word of like being, or like the idea of like being a creative, because it sounds kind of pretentious and like disconnected from reality, and almost, pretentious means like just like better than other people, and it's like I don't feel that way at all.
No,
but if I were to look at it, like it's like I am a creative person, like, and that will always be a part of me. But I agree with you like totally. It's like I don't see myself as better than other people or more enlightened, or I don't know, like it's so I am kind of hesitant to be like I don't even like telling people sometimes that I make music, because it's just like I don't know, it just feels,
you don't want to go down that road and have to have the whole conversation about it. And,
anyway, but like just want to be one of the people, but at the same time I also want to like shock people awake on certain things. So it's like I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So Emmy and I were talking last night, and we've covered this ground on the show before, but it's almost like I continually need to be reminded of this sort of thinking. But basically I was having a moment, a big surprise of terror about my job and life and everything.
A Josh moment.
And it was being real cynical and bitter and stuff. And it is honestly amazing that I'm married to Emmy, because she can talk me down from the darkest of cliffs. But anyway, basically she just said, for most of human existence, people, their main drive wasn't to make more money than their parents and do something meaningful and like make their mark on the world and hope that their name lives on somehow. It just, that wasn't the point. And even in much of the world today, that's not the point. And just how in America we really have been sold into this idea or grown up in it or whatever, that productivity is everything, that you have to create and you have to put things out, and if you don't have a following, you're worthless, or and I don't know, I'm finding the more I unplug from being online, the more I pull away from those influences, even with things like news, and just kind of get back to quieting my mind, the less general anxiety I have, because I know that's all true, but I still get sucked up in it. Somebody puts out a new thing, and I'm like, damn it, I should have something new to put out, or you know, just feeling like, that's where I'm going to get my like it's all some competition or race, and it's like I know I've even thought about. Sorry to go on a rant here, but
no, do it.
Let's say Cordial Kill wins the Oscar for Best Short Film, and then I go on to have this amazing film career and like multiple like critically acclaimed full feature films. I win multiple Oscars. I get the Lifetime Achievement Award in my 60s, and like I have the best possible life as a filmmaker. I don't think that's going to happen. It's not going to happen. But if it did, at the end of all that, I'm still going to die, and Josh Gaines might be remembered as like a great director for another 30 or 40 years. But then even those people are going to forget about me. And so it's like, even if I had the best possible life I could imagine, that still isn't gonna be the thing. You know, that's still not everything. And so that doesn't mean be lazy and don't work hard and don't make things that occur to me to make, but there's got to be a balance between not making that my end goal, not going that, then I'll finally be happy and content and satisfied when I have money and notoriety and people respect me and think I'm great. You know, and so it's just like I want to get to that place right now and stop thinking I'm a loser because I hardly sell any books or because I have only 200 followers on Twitter. Like that, what does that have to do with the meat puppet that is Josh Gaines that walks around on this earth? That doesn't have anything to do with me. That's not even real. It's fake ones and zeros on a computer. You know, anyway,
the things that you put out are part of your meat bag. but the followers on Twitter, sorry, I shouldn't have said meat bag.
Put some stuff out of your meat bag. See what happens.
But it's like the books, the movies, the short stories, the albums that you've done, like soundtrack provided by
Sorry, that
Stemson.
was terrible. I don't know how to work this thing.
It's shit.
Sorry.
No, it's just like, okay, so the content you create, which again, content, bad word, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
That's you. That's true you. But however, how many people read it, how many followers you have, that's not you. That doesn't matter.
Sure. But it's hard to not think that's me, right?
Right.
I mean, it's hard to not equate my value with those things.
Right.
Or validate my point for existence by how many people read my books, you know?
Right.
I want to get away from that thinking. And I think much of the people our age would also benefit from pulling away from that. Because
you've heard me talk many times about how I am uncomfortable with having, you know, not substantial, whatever, like the amount of followers I have, whatever. Like, so when you hear me talk about how it's uncomfortable and how the larger it gets, like the more I kind of want to pull away from it. Like, are you able to take that in and say like, oh, okay, that helps me not worry so much about my Twitter followers because it seems like a mixed bag to even get those in the first place? Like, how could I convince you? Because I feel like, again, not that I have any mass following, but it doesn't feel great more than it feels good, if that makes any sense. Like, so how could I convince you, or can anyone like me convince you that it's not even a great thing to experience if you do get it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I already know and believe that.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like I have days where I forget that hugely, you know, and it's so, again, it's like I constantly need to be reminded that that's not the thing, and it never has been.
Right. Could you say specifically what your mind was doing that day, last night, about your job? You said it was about your job.
Oh, well,
you don't have to.
No, I don't mind. It was mainly that, and I think I've said this here before, but just that there are so many things I want to do and make, not even to get a following or to get famous, just because I would like to make these specific things, and that some of it's writing, but there are other things. And I was just like, I am stuck in that chair at work for 9 hours a day, and I have to be there, even though not all 9 of those hours are spent, you know, working.
Right.
But I also can't do all the things that I would like to do in that span of time. And then I have to go home and be a dad and husband and have limited time there too. So it just feels like this cyclical, broken system.
So I'm just picturing
I never have the time.
Right. I'm just picturing, maybe this is wrong, maybe it's right, but I feel like I'm picturing you coming home with like all these thoughts going around in your head, but then coming up with some like insane plan to be like, Emmy, what if I quit in like 2 months and you like piece together some weird thing? Like, did you come home with like a weird plan that ultimately doesn't make any sense if you're in your right mind? Because I feel like I used to do that at my old job. I was like, what if we moved to North Carolina and got a really cheap house? Like, that was legitimately a thing I was had in my head for a little bit.
Yeah. Not this particular time, but I have
Okay.
had those. Yeah. I mean, I've even called you, Andy, in
Right.
the midst of those and just been like, I probably could quit in a month, actually. And,
Right.
it's every time it's just been, in hindsight, it's like, it's so good I did not.
Right.
Because it was not the right time and it wasn't ready.
Stefan,
So, yeah.
how do you feel about your job with
Yeah.
in this area,
So,
this regard?
I mean, hang on one second. I gotta pee, but I'm gonna hold it like a man until
Okay.
the end of the podcast.
You don't have to do that.
Unlike some other guests. So I think one thing, I guess, Josh, you were talking about, like best case scenario, you win these awards, you're getting your lifetime achievement award, and you're still like not going to be happy. Like for me personally, I found the more I can be content with where I am right now, the happier I am looking towards the future, in the sense that like, okay, I'm like the job that I work right now, I love it because it doesn't follow me home. I like my boss is great, treats me like a human being.
And you probably have no compulsion to even think about it when you're at home.
No, like, and if I do, there's no dread. There's no,
Yeah.
like, I don't get
Yeah.
the Sunday night blues where I have to go back Monday. Like, I have to go back to work tomorrow, but talking about it right now, I don't
Yeah.
get the sinking feeling in my stomach. I don't get existential dread about the future, the reason I bring that up is I've had that in the past,
Yeah.
and I know what that feels like.
For sure.
So, I mean, part of it is my job. I like my job as of right now. And I don't make a ton of money, but I make enough to pay the bills, and that's good. But like, I've been learning more and more that there's so many things in life that are a balance, and that like extremes can tend to be pretty unhealthy. Because it's like, okay, let's say I throw all my chips in music. Like I take all our assets and like just invest it in music, invest 100% of my time.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll pay off. Maybe there'll be a good return, but it's like, do I really want to make that jump and completely switch my lifestyle into something that I'm not used to? Or like, or do I give it up? And like another way I could approach it is I try to find a career, save up a bunch of money so I can retire early and do music, whatever. Like
Right.
those are kind of two ends of the spectrum for approaching music. But try to find a balance where it's like, can I work my job, be happy with it, like work on music and be happy with it, and work towards goals to maybe eventually be out of my job. Even when I got interviewed for the job I'm in now, I told my boss, because he's like, well, what do you want to do? I said, eventually I'd like to do music for a living. Like, and I
you're
was like,
upfront about it.
yeah, and I was like, I know it's not a safe bet. So like what I just told him flat out, I was like, I'd like to work somewhere full time and maybe eventually part time, and then maybe not at all, as time goes on. And he,
Like, what's your 5-year plan? To not be here, but I'd still like this job right
yes,
now.
I mean, that's kind of what I said, but it was cool because my boss is like, as I got to know him better, he grew up in a family where his dad was constantly enabling people to like open businesses and like follow their dreams. And like, he really, like he said,
That's cool.
his dad pushed him to do bigger things. And so he's like he said, I want to see my employees be able to do that too, where you can like do what you really want to do. And that,
Yeah.
and I mean, I make gelato for a living, so it's not like I have this high profile job. Anyway, all that to say, I'm learning that like I need to constantly hold attention where I'm making goals and working towards them for the future, but I'm
Yeah.
also keeping the thing that I have now healthy, like both relationships, finances, and instead of jumping in one ship or the other, like trying to keep a foot in both. And if it's time to like step over into one, or it's like if we have kids someday and it's like I can't do music and have all these like have kids and like pay all the bills, it's like I'll step back over and step away from music, whether it be for a time or whatever it might be, to make money so they can go to the doctor and all that. So all that to say, like, like finding contentment in life now, like just looking around and being like, man, this house is great. I'm glad I have this house. It's like, oh, my cats are cool. I love my cats. And it's like, oh, I have this music room with these speakers and these keyboards. I love this stuff and I'm thankful for this stuff. And it's like my wife, it's like I'm thankful that I have my wife and we have this relationship, and just like seeing the things that I have in front of me and being thankful for that and being like, but things can be better and I'm going to work on them getting better. And so that mindset from like, because I used to flip flop back and forth where I'm like, oh my gosh, like everything's falling apart, like relationships, the house, like I hate all this other stuff and like I can't handle it. But I find if I keep myself in a posture of like thankfulness, I tend to be far more happy and far more productive. And I'm actually like, it'll make me take steps towards what I want to do in the long run.
So, but with the job specifically, would you say it's, I mean, because all that sounds great, all the things you just said. But so how much is the job itself, the day job being like a cool place with a cool boss versus your own things that you figured out in your head about contentment? Is it like 50-50? Like if the job was super shitty and terrible, would those things you've figured out in your head still work? Does that make sense?
Probably not.
Okay.
And the reason being is that was the last job that I worked where I was trying to do Stemson and this other job, and they weren't compatible because it was just not a healthy environment for me.
So give me a number though. So is it 50-50? Is it like 70% having a good job and 30% your mental, or is it the other way?
I would say like 80-20 mental, 80-20 job. Like, because mental, like if you can get yourself into a place where you can be content enough with it and just like realize like, this is temporary, and like actually believing that instead of like hoping for that.
So if you took your current mind back to your old job, do you think you could make it work?
I think I would quit. I would I would look for a job to where I could do that. And I understand like not everybody has that luxury. Like,
right.
I mean, basically like my bills are like paying our mortgage and buying food and then just regular bills everybody else has. Like, so I don't have like a lot of bills, but I also don't make a lot of money, so I'm making.
You don't have like student loans and car payments.
So I have more freedom than other people. It's like, and especially if you have like a family and you want to pursue something, you can't just like pack up and move all the time or like flip the switch. So I understand it's like you can't just say, oh, just quit your job and do that thing. But it's like if you have that freedom, take advantage of it. If you want to go out there, or if you want that freedom, find a way to make it and make it safely and healthy and and maintain it. So I don't know if that makes sense. I'm kind of
so Josh, from what we just said, do you feel like your job fulfills the requirements of like it being an okay day job to help you do the rest of your things, rather than wanting to quit and just find a different job for the time being?
Right. Yeah, it absolutely is. And thankfully a lot of the time I come back around to that of just realizing there are a lot of benefits to my current scenario that allow me to do this. And things like having really good health insurance, which we need at the moment with my wife's health. So anyway, there are things to be thankful for sure. And it makes me think, you know, on the flip side of what we're talking about, there are those guys or women, I mean, maybe even listeners to this show who are, without even realizing, kind of setting aside everything in their personal life to chase these things, and maybe not noticing how they're neglecting their kids or neglecting their marriage, and maybe they'll, you know, grow an amazing following or make a living out of it, but like these other personal things get left behind. That's obviously no way to live either.
Well, and you know, when you look at Silicon Valley people and startup culture and whatever, I feel like we're kind of glorifying that stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, even read anything about Steve Jobs, you know, he's revered as this amazing innovator tech guy, but he kind of, I mean, from what I understand, kind of like fucked his family over a little bit. And it's like, are we really going to glorify that sort of thing? I don't know. And I don't even know if that's unique to this generation. Maybe there's been that in different places all along in our industrial period that we've been in for a while.
Well, and that gets into like values too, because it's like, hey, if you value a career and you want to make a lot of money, but you don't have like the energy or effort or interest in like being part of a family, don't start a family.
Right.
Start a job. That's fine. But
Yeah, totally.
like, I think it's okay to be driven, but if
Right.
you can't balance like the commitments you've made with that drive, then it can be really unhealthy and dangerous and
Totally.
sad.
And
I just feel
it's
like-
also, oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's also such a lie to say, oh, well, I'm going to build this thing huge right now so I can enjoy years later with my family. It's like that will not happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I feel strongly either way about that, but I'm personally glad that, like, you know, I had 4 kids very young, and it's pretty crazy right now. Like, I'm trying to make a living doing creative stuff and feed a family with 4 kids and blah blah blah. But so it's a lot right now. I feel like it's been a lot for the past 4 years, but it's like, I mean, using that type of thinking, it's like, you know, I'll be in my 50s when they're all out of the house.
Yeah.
And I will, I mean, hopefully be pretty free to do things, travel, or do more music stuff. I don't even know, but I like, you know, with the limited energy I do have now, I don't see it ever going up, the amount of energy I have. So I might as well just kind of like cram all this stuff in. And, you know, I don't know. I love my family and my wife, and I feel like I'm doing a good job of not neglecting all that stuff. But hopefully if I was, someone would tell me. But yeah, I don't know. All that to say is I've never really understood the people who's like, I'm going to wait for a family for after I get my business off the ground or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't trust the future that much to wait for things, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I was saying even people who have already started a family and their wife is like, I never see you. And it's like, but this is more important right now. Like, I have to make this so that we can enjoy later. This is not going to work out.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Cool.
Good
We got that one
talking.
figured out.
Yeah.
Got another question for you guys.
Okay.
Another
Hit
change
me.
of
Questions
topic.
with Stemson.
Stemson with questions. So this question comes from Stemson and
On Twitter.
Yeah. This might not be totally fair to you, Josh, because I asked Andy this question a while ago.
I've been preparing for
Yeah,
this.
he's got a little notepad with all of his motioning as if he does, but you can't see it. No, but the question is and hopefully this will be insightful to the listeners too, is I wanted to ask both of you guys, what do you see that I can improve on with Stemson? And it can be just about anything, but both of you guys know, like, relatively, like, what I want Stemson to be, but what are maybe some blind spots that I'm missing or things that you think I could do better? And you can be brutally honest, like, I'm ready.
It's a Stemson roast over here.
Yeah, here you go.
You go, Josh.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is just you could play less video games and work more often. But that's also, okay, listen, that has a caveat because one, as we just discussed, I don't think working and productivity all the time is the end all goal, you know? And if video games are what refresh you and reset you and, you know, make you able to be creative, great. Like that needs to be an element that exists still. But I would say my perception is, and I might be wrong, of just that you might lean a little heavier on the procrastination side, and not as much on the just being more disciplined and working, you know, setting a regular work schedule for yourself with creative stuff.
And I would not argue that. I think you're totally right on that.
Okay.
I do have a story with video games, but we can talk in a minute on that. But
Sure.
Yeah.
Andy, what's yours?
Well, I mean, if I remember correctly what I said before, it was at its basis just figuring out how to use the time better. Like, because, you know, all the stuff with the house and blah, it's like, yeah, that's fine. But I do think, and like the stuff we were talking about how, you know, lying to yourself, like, I'm only going to work for 30 minutes, then it turns into 3 hours. Like, that's a great thing to figure out. and sounds potentially like the answer to, because I mean, I just feel like, okay, yeah, termites, floods in your house. Yes, there's always going to be something like that, bigger or smaller. And it's like this whole thing is figuring out how to keep working despite all those things, because everyone has those things. So
yeah,
I mean, they're definitely things to push against, but I would say stop looking at those things as like, oh, here's like rationalizing why you didn't work on stuff. Like there shouldn't be anything that ever you're able to rationalize. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, because there's always going to be, even if it's like 10 minutes, you sit down in Logic and blah 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 and something. So I mean, that's my whole thing, and this goes for me too. I know I keep talking about it on this show, but it's just figuring out how to do stuff quicker. I feel like there are types of people who need to just hunker down. Like I feel like Bo Burnham is this way. Like he disappears for a year and then comes back with a special or whatever, and then he disappears again and is working on it very hard and whatever. And that's fine, but I feel like the type of people we all are here are the type of people that more than anything we need to get stuff done just more quickly, and possibly at the sacrifice of maybe quality in certain areas or general satisfaction with the thing in certain areas. Yeah. I mean, so like I'm right there with you on all those things pretty much. So I don't know how helpful that is, but I don't know. You seem like you're in a better place than you were even when we talked last.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I am too. I mean, part of it is just doing it. Like I need to continually immerse myself in it instead of dipping in and out. As like jumping in the pool and then jumping back out and jumping in. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything you guys said.
Wait, so how about this? So the album's out now. You're about to play AudioFeed. What's your next goal?
The next goal is to do a couple music videos for the album. So when I come back, that's going to be the next big step. So
So you'll be able to keep the momentum going. You won't just sit and be like, all right, album's out, I'm going to like chill.
Yeah. Well, and
I mean, that might be good or might be bad. I don't know.
And I told you this too, Andy, is like I've been working on demos for the new album and actually have like ideas for like what I want it to
A new album.
A new album.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Weird World Part 2.
Yeah.
Too Weird, Too World.
But yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. But anyway, yeah, I realized too, looking while I'm doing the thing that I'm doing, I can also look forward to the next thing. Like doing things in tandem is really helpful. And even so, I had like a heavy dose of that this last week where I was like designing shirts and like I'm ordering cassettes, and then I'm also like trying to promote the album and building a website. I was doing all those things roughly at the same time. Like, and because I get artwork bounce backs from one thing, but I'd be talking to someone about another thing, and all of a sudden I was juggling all these things, and I was like, I can do this. Like I can.
Doesn't it feel kind of cool? You're like, oh, I'm flexing like all these muscles at the same time.
Yeah, totally. But then
like
I also
momentum too.
Yeah, for sure.
I was also waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning, just like wide awake. Yeah. Like, did I remember to send that thing? Yes. So it was like I do need to learn to balance that better, but I'd rather err on the side of like doing a lot of stuff and getting it done than just not doing anything because it's too overwhelming. And that I feel is like one of the biggest lies I've believed for a long time, is that like I need to be doing something big every time, but like it's more important to just be doing something and things will happen as you're doing it. And anyway, so but to the video game thing specifically.
Is this your video game story?
Yes, this is a video game story. Okay. So I finished the album and I finished recording
video games for 8 days straight.
Yeah, no kind of. I'm just kidding. That's kind of actually what happened. Is I finished the album and I was like, I need to mix it, but I was dreading mixing it because I was like, I don't know where to start. This thing is a cluster. Like there's so many.
A cluster things. What?
Just a cluster of fuck. It was just really messy. And I was like, just thinking about it really stressed me out because I was like, I don't even know where to begin on this. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play a video game and come back and do it. So I got Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game, and I played through the whole thing. And when I was done, I felt 100% ready to get it, and I attacked it and blew through it. And I was like, okay, maybe that's like, if I can, like, for the next thing, like when I hit a wall, just take like a break, but know that,
but like a specific break.
Yes, like once I beat that game, I'm gonna go back in and finish it. And so, Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game, actually helped me. Like I got so immersed in that by the time I came back, like the parts of my brain that were worried about what mixing would look like were just totally calmed, and I was able to knock out. And it wasn't that bad. And I probably could have mixed as soon as I finished, but it would have taken longer, and I would have been way more stressed. And you would have been
burned out way quicker because you've just been hearing it constantly for way too long. Yeah. See, that makes me think of like, and I'm surely this is something every person growing up has to figure out, but like when you're a kid, there's downtime. Just, you have a lot of downtime, more than you realize you have. Yeah. And, you know, playing video games is fine. You know, you do other things, whatever. But when you get to like real adulthood, I feel like you almost have to schedule even your downtime. Yeah. You just have to schedule like everything. Because if I don't, you know, like for instance, on the weekends, you know, I try to not work on this stuff. But if I don't have something else specifically to do, like, hey, we're going to go eat lunch with the kids somewhere or something, like I just end up, I wake up and like, I don't know what to do with myself. So I just wander into the studio and do something, but it's not even that productive anyway. It's just, I don't know what to
slump down. And like
yeah. Like I don't even know
what. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
But it's just like, so you have to, so that makes sense to me. Like scheduling, I'm going to finish this game, and then when it's done, I'm back to work. Like for me on weekends, it's like, okay, I'm going to go build a fire in the backyard with the kids and just hang out with them. Like I had to plan that in order for that to happen. Otherwise, I don't know. I kind of hate it that everything has to be sort of scheduled, but otherwise I don't do anything useful for anybody. So I don't know. That's just a thing. What?
Megan comes in. Andy, you worthless piece of shit. You're just a bag of potatoes. Since Megan talks that way always.
Old Andy Tater Bag.
Tater Bag? Steven. Whatever. Yeah.
Well, right. Andy, you have to go.
Yeah, I do.
Got
my parents are coming over. Unless we want them to be on the podcast, we should shut it down right now.
We can Your dad comes in. You guys smoking turds in here?
My dad would say smoking turds. So he loves using the word turd.
I like your dad.
He would just burp a lot. He can burp on command like really loud.
I wondered where Andy got that.
I can't do that. I can't do it on command.
Oh boy. This has been a good talk.
Yeah. This has been great.
Stemson and lots of other deep things.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
so anyway, just a reminder.
Go check out the album.
Stemson.bandcamp.com.
If you want to buy it.
Or Stemson.net.
Yeah. It'll be on Spotify.
Spotify.com.
Yeah.
/
Google.
Google.
And hey, if you find yourself in person at AudioFeed, get out your binoculars and scan the horizon for the three of us, the old Goodboys, and
you could look for me first. I'll be the taller one.
He'll be the
like
tall
the
fucker.
Are we? How tall are you?
The same height as you.
What? No. What is it?
6'2".
Okay. If I stand up straight, I feel like I'm 6'3".
We'll measure when we're done here.
I don't really want to do that.
I'm going to. You don't have a choice.
Andy, cue
all right, boys and girls.
Out of here music.
All right, here we go. Bye, Stefan.
Bye. Here I go. I'm leaving. I'm walking out the door. About to shut the door. It's closing. Leaving the door closed.
All right, Stefan, let's jam real quick.
Okay.
I don't have it. Oh, I do have a pick.
I pushed too many buttons on this. Fix this quick. Hang on.
Change a preset.
Where's the presets? Hey, help me out.
I don't want to help you. I like this struggle happening.
This is the only sound I can make. Listen to this. You can't jam with that. Give me a good sound.
Oh, I don't. I forget how to use this too.
Well, this is yours.
I know. There you go. Move that around.
Oh, there we go. There.
I am not fine. You are not fine.
That was so good, dude.
Thanks.
That was a Stemson original.
Mm-hmm.